shade after 2 p.m. If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd greatly appreciate it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Ms. Martin, we're going to go to the roll call, please.
Chairman John Paul Rea.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Britt Razigan.
Present.
Ms. Sheila Cote.
Present.
Mr. Abdul Haddis.
Present.
Dr. Curtis Ivory is excused absence. Mr. Royce Manico. Ms. Diana McBroom.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Martin. Greatly appreciate that. Next, the chair would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda that has been provided.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, Ms. Martin, may we please have the certification of public notice?
SMART will hold the December 5th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting at 2 p.m. on the 6th floor of the Buell Building, located at 535 Griswold Street, Suite 600, Detroit, Michigan, 48226. This meeting is open to the public.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Greatly appreciate that. In the board packet, we were provided minutes for the board meeting of October the 24th, 2024. If we can please have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have approved the minutes. Next, we will open things up for public participation. Any members of the public willing to address the board this meeting? Come on up and say hello.
Hello, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Hi, could you please state your name
Yes.
and county?
Lucas Lasecki from Farmington Hills, Oakland County with Transportation Riders United. In today's meeting, I would like to briefly address the hiring updates and the numbers that have been presented over the last few meetings. And first things first, what is presented is promising. That the driver shortage that has been an issue for this agency for a very long time is showing signs of resolution. The fact that paratransit is only short, I think, a single-digit number of operators, and fixed route is catching up rapidly is very, very good to see. It's a good sign for increasing service reliability. You've heard us talk about how much that's a problem, but there is definitely progress being made toward fixing it. However, that is showing that there's a different problem also affecting service reliability, and that's the availability of equipment. It is not uncommon for buses or for terminals to be short buses and for drivers to be sitting around at the terminals waiting on a bus that works and is safe to operate to start their routes. And I do not know for sure why that's happening. I can speculate that's either because of missing parts or missing mechanics. So with the reports that are being issued to the board showing status of hiring operators, I would encourage the board to also seek similar reports with the status of mechanic staffing levels, and also perhaps with how many buses are in operation or if there are any issues getting parts to make sure that those buses run on time. Because there are still issues with service reliability, albeit much improved from before. So I have to give Deshalon and the hiring teams credit for all the work they've done to improve the service, but there's still a lot to be done. And I would encourage the board to look further into maintenance issues, particularly with mechanic staffing. This is my impression of why that's happening, but again, I could be wrong. I only have the outsider's perspective. But I'll tell you this much, it is very common for buses to start their runs late, especially on second shift, because there are no available buses, and second shift on Saturday especially is becoming very unreliable. And that actually led to us having to change our plans with a state senator doing a ride along a couple weeks ago. We were going to take a ride on the 280 that never showed up, so we had to go for a different route. You've heard my piece. Thank you for your time and consideration. Hope you all have a happy holiday, and I'd like to congratulate former Chairman Haddis again on his retirement. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thanks for coming, Lucas. Hey, Robert, how are we doing?
Doing well. Good to see you, sir. Good afternoon, members of the board and public. My name is Robert Plowski. I'm a transit advocate, smart bus rider, and I'm also the council member at large for the Smart Advisory Council. Today, I want to reflect on a lot of what Lucas has said, a lot of the progress that's been going on over the last year. There has been major improvements, improving the driver shortage, finding new ways to hire drivers, marketing efforts, new wraps on buses to get people in the door to drive for Smart. It's a wonderful organization. I've been a Smart rider for half my life, and I have seen a lot of improvements. We've had some hiccups along the way, but I'll say one thing. This team has been open to listening to us. Even when we have disagreements, we are able to still get stuff done and work together. So I'd love to give a big congratulations to you, Mr. Farrell, and working with us and your staff working coordinating with us to get progress done and listen to our concerns. And a big credit to Mr. Bernard Parker for all the work he's been doing, listening to our concerns, our ideas, and a bright vision for Smart going into the future. But with all of our progresses, we've had hiccups along the way. It's been a very interesting year, but I hope as we go into next year, we have high hopes to improve the service long term. I really want to focus my comment on former Chairman Haddis. He has been a friend, but also a wonderful chairperson and a wonderful advocate. After joining the board in 2007, he has been not just an amazing advocate for sticking up for people in his community for transit, he has been a vocal person on how much we need transit in Wayne County. As a Smart rider that would love to go into communities like Woodhaven, like Canton, like Plymouth, it's hard, especially now what's going on in the legislature, to be able to get a bill passed. But Chairman Haddis has been very vocal, very supportive, and always very outgoing and passionate about his community. He has been a truly inspiration to my life. And I know a lot of people in the commission are going to miss him. And trust me, we will miss him here too. I thank you for your service, your leadership, and all of the amazing advice you have given me in my time of being an activist, but most of all, a leader for your community in Southwest Wayne County. You'll be missed. And trust me, everybody will be saying Abdul Haddis had seen you up and down Michigan Avenue in communities like Wayne, where you've shown tremendous leadership. If I may, can we give him a standing ovation real quick? Thank you so much. Thank you, Chairman Haddis. I'm still calling you Mr. Chairman, but as to the
I'll
whole
make that
entire
motion.
staff. Already calling for a motion. I love it. But thank you all for the amazing work. We still have a lot of hiccups to go, but as we get into 2025, we have progress to get healed. And trust me, I'll be on your forefront giving you feedback, insight, and ideas as long as all of us here today. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and have a good holiday.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. Any other members of the public looking to address the board today? Members of the public 2 times. And, oh, Ms. Cope, come on up.
Yes, hello, my name is Angela Cope. I now live in Roseville, Michigan. Well, I sent an email on October the 23rd this year regarding a grievance I had with one of the board members. It's regarding Smart and overall, but I haven't gotten no response regarding it. Now, the gentleman behind me, indicated how the board members are advocates for passengers, but now when it comes to me, I don't feel that way personally. I mean, for months and months, I feel like none of my grievances has been addressed. I feel like I've been validated to speak to Miss Vicky or Shannon White, but none of them had addressed none of my issues, regarding safety and all this. And Mr. Raya, I reached out to him, especially now I'm in Macomb County, but his staff over there treats me like I don't matter, What's the point of me having all these board meetings or speaking with the board about my grievances and you're not doing anything about it? I mean, are y'all advocating for certain people? I mean, that's what it seems like. And Mr. Parker today, he said he didn't receive my email regarding my grievance about all this, but it seems like I feel like I'm being ignored, I mean, you're acting like politicians. You just don't care what people have to say. It's been the elections results this year, but because it just feels like nobody cares, till they get voted out of office, I suppose. And I'm very frustrated too. I mean, I'm riding the bus. You all driving around in fancy cars. You don't know what we go through on a daily basis with the weather, dealing with unruly passengers, nasty bus drivers. And y'all got it made. I don't. And when I reach out to certain board members who's supposed to advocate for me, I get the door slammed in my face, particularly the one in Macomb County. I even reached out to ADA regarding I feel like some of this is discriminatory. They don't respond to me at all. So I don't understand why they're saying that y'all being wonderful advocates. To who? Not to me and not to anyone else of color personally. That's all I have to say. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Cope.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak?
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Martin. We will close public comment. Any other, excuse me, any other correspondence received by the board?
Chair.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for their comments today to the board. Next, we are going to move on to the chair person's report. Unfortunately, I guess that's me. Just a few quick updates on my end. Very much wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you on behalf of myself and Board Member Cote with regards to the community providers forum that we had in Macomb County. General Manager Farrell and the entire leadership team graciously provided us with a 2-hour steering session with our community providers and a number of our local elected officials that looked at ways in which we not only could modernize our community credits program, but also trying to find efficiencies in everything from sourcing vehicles to getting additional service delivery options at the local level. I think it sparked a tremendous amount of great ideas and very much want to thank Erica for her efforts in engaging a number of our community partners on that side and Bernard for his efforts with regards to engaging all of the providers. I think it really kickstarted some very refreshing conversations about how we're looking for more community-based service options on that end. And I think it ties in very wonderfully, not only with a number of the paratransit aspirations that we have and on the micromobility side. So again, a heartfelt thank you to all the team that came to the East Side that day and very much appreciate the team's effort and follow-up since then. The other thing is very much want to again applaud the advocacy of the community. I had an opportunity to speak with Joel Batterman and a few individuals from True with regards to some of the aspirations of the advocacy community and seeing if there would be opportunities to integrate some more coordination and cooperation with all transit agencies across Southeast Michigan and even across the state of Michigan. So we'll continue to ensure that those lines of communication are robust and provide fruitful conversations, not only with members of the board, but also importantly to those on the administrative side here at SMART. So I will stop my rambling because no one wants to be here longer than that listening to me talk. And we will move on to the financial report where Ryan has some updates for us on the audit. How we doing, Ryan?
Thank you very much. Just a little while ago, we had the SMART Audit Committee where we dove a little deeper into the annual report. But I do also have our independent auditors here from Plant Moran who have just a few comments that they wanted to make. Before I turn it over to them, included in your board packet, you have a copy of the SMART Annual Financial Report, a copy of the auditor's end of audit letter, and a copy of our federal awards supplemental information, which is an audit of our federal awards. Just in general, overall, it's been a pretty good year for SMART. Not too many changes from prior annual reports or the quarterly financial reports that we've been delivering. SMART's balance sheet remains strong. We continue to remain in the positive. We're not running any sort of deficits. So from the financial standpoint, it's all good news. I am going to turn it over to our independent auditors to make a few comments. They will mention 2 audit findings this year. One related to the timing of revenue recognition for some of our federal awards, which I think we've straightened out, and the other with regard to checks for suspension and debarment from using federal fundings for our subrecipients. we needed to incorporate a section of our subrecipient funding into our suspension and debarment check procedures that had previously been excluded, but I think we've done that pretty well. So I will turn it over to our independent auditors. We'll do just a brief high level overview of their audit, and then we'll be available for any questions you may have on the annual reports.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Welcome back, Pamela.
Thank you. My name is Pam Hill, audit partner with Plant Moran. Thanks for having us here today. As Ryan mentioned, we're just going to give a brief overview. We did spend quite a bit of time with the audit committee a little bit earlier today. So this will be a little more brief than that. Did want to just thank the team here at SMART, Mr. Farrell, Ms. Gunther, Mr. Byrne, and his whole team. I mean, we really work with a lot of different departments at SMART. So we appreciate the professionalism we need in order to get the audit done. So thank you very much for that. We do, in addition to the reports that you have in your packet, we do issue 10 additional reports, mainly on some of the subrecipients and community members that SMART works with. And so we're almost done with all of those reports. There's one left that we will be working with your team on in January. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention there were some new auditing standards this year that we worked through with your team. So additional testing around internal controls. And so happy to report there were no findings related to that, in addition to the few that Ryan mentioned, but no findings as a result of the new auditing standards. So good news there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy and have her just briefly cover some financial highlights for 2024.
Thanks, Pam. How are we doing, Amy?
Great. Sorry, as Pam said, I'll go over just some brief comments on the financial statements. We did just go over them in detail at the audit committee, so we'll just make these brief. This year, SMART received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Overall, at the close of fiscal year 2024, net position saw about a 20 million increase. As Ryan mentioned, a strong balance sheet for 2024. SMART has the liquidity and flexibility to deal with increasing costs while funding future capital needs, legacy costs, etc. Touching briefly on your statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net position, your operating revenue or fares was up about 6% this year. Operating expenses very comparable to prior year. You'll see in non-operating all of the major sources of revenue for SMART. So local contributions, which are property taxes, state operating grants, federal operating grants, etc. Overall, your non-operating revenue is down about 25% from 2023. However, from one year to the next, these categories do see some fluctuation depending on the activity for the year and how SMART elects to apply certain grant funds. So overall, as I opened with, 20 million was added to net position this year, which leaves SMART in a good position to take on future needs and challenges. On top of that, I do want to mention that SMART has been doing a great job addressing pension and OPEB or retiree healthcare liabilities, as pension is now funded at 77% and OPEB is funded at more than 100%. So with that, I will hand it over to Keith to go over some of the other reports.
Thank you, Amy. How are we doing, Keith?
Good afternoon. I'm covering the Federal Award Supplemental Information Report, also referred to as the Single Audit Report. It includes 3 independent auditors' reports. All of them are unmodified or clean audit reports. Following that is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, which details the $20 million of SMART's federal funding over the last year, including the Federal Transit Cluster, which accounted for about 60% of that funding and was subject to our testing over the last year. And at the end of that report are the 2 findings that Mr. Byrne referred to. Included in those write-ups are the views of responsible officials and corrective action plan, which details SMART's plan for correcting those issues. And assuming those changes are put into place, we do not expect those findings to recur next year. And with that, I will pass it back to Pam to close things out.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, well, that's really all we had today. I wasn't going to go into details on the letter. I know you've had a chance to take a look at it, but happy to take any questions that anyone may have.
Pam, thank you so much for you and the entire team and your due diligence and coordination with our finance team. Ryan, also thank you to the entire team for ensuring that you could be shepherds and stewards throughout this audit. And Pam, I know that the transmittal letter is in here with noting the unmodified opinion in each one of the sections that you highlighted previously in the audit committee on that side.
Yes.
So any questions from members of the board for our friends at Plant Moran? Mr. Manico.
You hear me? Hi. One of the things we changed in 2013 from the RTCC, which provided a breakdown between our dollars coming in for SMART and for DDOT. And we always felt that DDOT in that percentage ratio, they had 66%, I think, at one time, and SMART had 33%. But since the implementation of the act that went into effect in 1989, the population has shifted and reversed itself. Instead of Detroit, which at that time was significantly much higher population. So we always had a concern. That changed when SIMCOG was appointed, I think, by the governor to make a ratio change. And I noticed on page 11 that was 47.5%. In the other report on the Smart Audit Committee, that has now gone up to 50%. And I was wondering which figure was correct. Was it still 50? Was it an increase of 2.5%? Or that makes a lot of difference in terms of dollars. And I was just
the 5307 money. Gotta be.
Royce, what page? Yeah, what
yeah,
page are you
on
referring to?
page 6 of the agenda, or of your management discussion analysis, economic factors of next year's budgets and rates.
In the narrative portion.
Yeah. It was kind of a 2.5%. And I didn't know if SIMCOG made that change or how that occurred, because the executive committee usually has to vote on that at SIMCOG. And I was just wondering how that changed. And that would be the first time we would have a higher percentage than the city of Detroit.
Royce, if I'm not mistaken, the responsibilities of the allocation of those funds now fall under the RTA.
Yes.
So that jurisdictional responsibility is based off the rolling programs that they petition for community providers to request on that side. So I think
So
Dwight
that
can coordinate with Tiffany and Ben, and we can see if we can get an update on that side.
I know that for the first time, we had the majority of the funding,
Sure.
which really surprised me.
Yeah.
I was kind of going, whoa, what happened
And I
there?
do know that that was another area that we were trying to reconcile specifically on the east side, as there was some increases in the last cycle where DDOT and Tiffany and Ryan have been working with our community providers to fill those holes on that side too. Sorry, Ryan, I'm just rambling. You probably have a real answer.
Smart's gonna have an allocation for the 5307 money of about 53%.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, 50% for several years now, so.
Okay, so it was changed since
that's
that
not new.
time after the first SIMCOG. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manico. Any other comments from members of the board? All right. Seeing none, I don't want to screw this up, Ryan. We need a motion.
Motion to receive and file.
I would need a motion to receive and file the audited financial statements for the year ending June 30, 2024, including other independent auditor reports.
So moved.
Been moved,
Second.
been supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you to our friends from Plant Moran and Ryan. Well done, sir. Alrighty, next we will hand it over to Mr. Farrell for the general manager's report. How are we doing, Dwight?
We're doing all right.
Excellent. You need some help today?
I might. I think we're working on a presentation. What I'd like to speak to as part of this, and of course, it's going to be pretty dynamic. And that is what has really transpired at SMART since I started in September of 2021. One of the things that I want the public to be aware of is there are very few things that they come to us about that we don't already know. And I want to make sure that as we go through this, we talk about the things that we have in place to be able to address some of the issues that have been identified, particularly some of those that have been identified today. But first things first, we are a service business. We don't function without people, period. And one of my first observations coming here was we didn't have enough. And the second thing was we weren't engaged. So at a high level, we had about 620 people when I started. Now we have about 300 more. Most of those are operators, mechanics, paratransit operators, bus operators. We have some administrative employees that have been added as well in that same time frame. The other thing I'd like people to know is the directors or vice president level group that I started with, only 3 of those people are still here from when I started. And no, I didn't ask anybody to leave. So don't get out there and say Dwight asked folks to go. That's not true. Those people left on their own. I made a decision at that time to promote from within.
They left on their own, or there's some retirement.
Well, they left on their own. And one of them is one of the things that I said that we would have to do going forward is we'd have to be accountable and transparent. And so when I started talking about accountability, there were certain people who took the approach that the way I was going about accountability was different than what they wanted to deal with. So be it. So with that in mind, I went about promoting people who were in here, and I figured that we could train them. The first person I started with was your board administrator. And making sure that she got the training necessary and more training to be a better board administrator than what she was even at the time. We've added to that staff with the addition to Morgan. We added an external affairs department, which we did not have before. We had no state or federal lobbyists. We've added those. We put a lot of focus on training. There are people here who will tell you, and if they want to speak to it, they can, that they've been in supervisory positions for more than 10 years and never received any supervisory training since they've been here. So one of the things that this board did recently was award a contract for an HR consultant who's going to come in and help us establish training for supervisors. We don't have performance measures for employees because we've never done performance evaluation for employees. That's something that we will be doing in 2024. So we brought those people on board as well. I want to make sure that people understand that we have 3 product lines. That's what we do. We provide bus service, paratransit service, and microtransit. That's what we do. We don't make anything, we don't build anything, but we provide that service. Fixed route buses, those big buses that go up and down the street. Paratransit service is a service to the disabled. I have briefed this board on exactly what paratransit is, and that is parallel service to fixed route. And there's microtransit. We had 3 zones in August of 2021. How many zones do we have now? How many vehicles did we have in 2021?
20.
How many do we have now?
70.
That's been that growth in this time frame. I would like to say that Dwight did all that, but I'd be lying because he didn't. It's the staff who did that. It's the great employees at SMART. As I mentioned before, we can't do anything without people. People want to be valued. So we started valuing employees. Operator of the year. Have you seen those buses with the big smiling faces of those people? They like that. We do 25-year recognition. The first bus was a 40-foot bus. Beth, where are you? Beth, come forward. This is an interactive presentation, by the way. So go to the podium. So when I call you, that's where you're gonna go.
Okay.
So Beth, what was it like the first year? Because Beth has been here more than 25 years.
Be nice.
So what was the participation the first year versus the second year?
Oh, so we had to pull teeth to kind of get everybody to participate on the bus. They didn't really want to get their picture taken, nor did they want to be on the side of the bus. I mean, there's quite a few of us, but then second year, is that what you would like me to move?
Yes,
forward to?
exactly.
Second year, people were clamoring to get on the bus. They wanted their picture taken. They wanted to be part of it. And so it was really heartening to me to see everybody's enthusiasm for the entire process and project.
So we went from a 40-foot bus to an articulated bus. So that was the idea of engaging employees. Some of you have gotten a gold star. I think all of you have gotten a gold star. Well, when I first started giving gold stars, people thought I had lost my mind. I know they did. But before I leave town for the holidays, if I don't go to Wayne and give gold stars to these people, to these operators and supervisors who were responsible for delivering buses after hours for basically a warming station, because there was an event at it was a fire at a retirement home, I will not be able to come back after the first of the year. The point being is that those pens were not very expensive, but the reaction to employees has been great. For us to be able to deliver the service, employees have got to be engaged. There's been lots of conversations about our labor negotiations. Labor negotiations started in 21. We've finished the last contract recently. Now, some of you, there have been some comments about why did you all do so much? I'll tell you why. They used to do, we did webinars when I first got here, where we would do webinars with operators, mechanics, and what have you. And they would tell us about stuff that they didn't like. The stuff that we asked for in changes in the contract were stuff that came out of the webinar. Now, everybody here, whether you're an elected official or at some point or another, you had responsibility for employees. Now, here's a question for you. Would you have a schedule that was dependent upon somebody to work overtime in order for you to be able to fill a schedule that you knew you had to have? Okay. One of the changes that we asked for in the contract was to have our extra board be able to work 7 days a week. Our contract prior to this one, we were dependent upon people to sign up on their off days to cover any scheduled vacancies on Saturdays and Sundays. That was a big change. That's one of the reasons why it took us so long. So that now we can make sure that we can staff for it so we can ensure that the service is out there. We get dollars from the federal government that requires for us to be able to, we have to do substance abuse testing. One of the requirements is that you have to be able to make sure that the people who come to work are able to do that. They're in a condition to do that. Some of the increase in staffing were positions that we provided on the weekend to make sure we had supervisors on staff to do that, because we didn't staff before I came. I could go on in these spaces. Now, the reliability of the fleet. I've been aware of that since we got here. But here's the question that I'd ask. Lawan, where are you? All right, Lawan, come forward. The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because I want people to be transparent. I want us to be transparent. I'll ask any of you this question. Where were you in 1983? I'll ask you what you were driving in 1983. Some of you weren't even born in 1983, so this makes it even more germane. Okay. I'll ask the question. Would you be using today the maintenance manual from whatever you were driving in 1983 to maintain your vehicle today? I'll wait. No. The board awarded a contract 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and we've had a series of meetings with our maintenance consultant because that gentleman right there, who has worked here how many years, Lawan?
23 years.
Told me that we were using a 1983, a manual from a 1983 General Motors RTS series bus. I drove that bus to use as a guideline to maintain 2014, 15, 16, and 17 vehicles.
And 21.
Can anybody see a problem with that? So what we are doing with our consultant is bringing this consultant in to teach our folks how to maintain vehicles differently. To teach them how to maintain vehicles differently. To assess the fleet, to make sure that the fleet can be and deliver the reliable service that the citizens are talking about. It doesn't do us any good for the bus to pull out and then break down 15 minutes after it gets out. It's got to get out and stay out. So these are all contracts. The HR contract and the maintenance contract have been awarded under this board. And this is why we did it. Now, training of mechanics. You want to talk about that, Lamar?
Yes. When I took this position 2 years ago, the maintenance budget for training was basically $10,000 per terminal. Since now it's been increased to $300,000. Well, we actually plan to have training just about every month for all mechanics, not just one, but all. All will attend, not just train the trainer and pass it along. Everybody will get the training from the actual expert in that field.
So that's just part of it. There's a whole lot more that has transpired because my initial observation is that the funding model for public transportation in Michigan is fatally flawed. It is not sustainable. To have to go every 4 years, 10 years, whatever that number is to get funding, no, you can't have the kind of mass transit system that this region deserves and needs in order to be able to do that. It's just not possible. So in order for people to want to be able to invest in transit, we've got to be able to give a better product. And that's what we're working towards doing. We're also actually going and being public about the fact that there has to be a different funding model. Now, from 21, when I got here until November of 2022, we focused on trying to pass millages in Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne. In Macomb in 18, I think it passed by 37 votes.
39.
Oh.
Who's counting?
Who's counting? In 2022, it passed by 55%. Oakland went all in. We're waiting to see what Wayne's going to do the next time around. But the point being is that they're doing that because they see something in this organization. Now, we didn't have a safety department. We do now. We have safety supervisors in every garage. The training that we provide to operators, we do bus operator graduations now, where we actually have an event and invite family members so that they can see the graduation and go through the experience. Training, and more training, and training after that. So these are just some of the things that we have started to do over the last 3 years that are starting to now kind of take root. It's taken a minute, but 2025 is going to really, really be interesting as we go forward under the direction of this board. We certainly want to start talking about let's talk about smarter mobility, for example, which is another one of the big projects. The downtown population in downtown Detroit prior to the pandemic was 75,000 people a day coming into downtown Detroit. It's about 25,000 now. All the conversation about what's going to happen with the Renaissance Center is a classic example. That used to be a city unto itself. Now they're talking about whether or not it's even going to exist anymore. What smarter mobility has shown us is that most people now don't go more than 6 miles away from where they live. That's microtransit. That's not fixed route. Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
What did the county exec say the population of seniors were in Macomb?
It's 1 in 4 county residents, 20%.
20%. That's quite a few people. Out of how many?
880,000.
A lot of folks. Couple 100,000 people.
260 plus thousand.
Microtransit. As that population begins to age, owning a car becomes problematic. So microtransit is our future. We can't get there on the current funding model. It just won't work. So we're going forward with making sure that we communicate that so that people can see the importance of what this can do for the region. Now, we have hired a vice president of DBE, and we also have in our an expanded marketing communications department. Now, I'd like for these two ladies, they know who I'm talking about. I'd like for them to stand. Katie, would you stand? Keisha, would you stand? Now, I use these two ladies interchangeably as examples of what it is we have to be able to make our transit system support, because they are indicative of the millennial mindset, if you will. Katie and her husband have 2 children and 1 car. When I was Katie lives about 45 minutes away from here. When I was Katie's age, I had a company car and I still had a car. There's no way I was going to share a car with my wife. That was just out of the question. Completely insane. But Katie wants to do other things with her money in terms of quality of life things, that the car is not as important. It was important for me for my car to sit in the garage and lose value than it was to be able to do something different. Now, Miss McKinney, who was our first vice president of diversity, so she's going to help us expand our small business program and get the word out, has a goal, she and her husband, to go to 40 countries before they turn 40. Well, I'm a little older than 40, and hell, I haven't even been to 40 countries. The point that I'm making is that the planners have already looked at and determined what that generation wants. That generation wants something different than what their parents wanted. They don't have the same stigma about public transportation that their parents had. Now, I had a conversation with somebody who was on this board, and I'm not going to talk about that unless they wish to say something, but they have a child who has lots of scooters and a single car. That's different. I say all of that to say that the things that we are trying to do in this organization going forward, all the things we're doing to try to be able to deal with the foundational pieces, is so that people will want to invest more money in this organization so that we can expand it to be able to meet these needs, not only of seniors, but of Generation X, Millennial, and Z. Those 3 populations, those 3 demographics make up 60% of the 350 million people who live in the United States. Now, I'm going to close with this. There's been a lot of conversation about the population of the city of Detroit and how this year, 2024, was the first year the city had seen an increase in population since 1957. That's 67 years. A long time. The population of the United States of America since 1960 to 2024 has gone up 87%. the entire population of the United States. Why is it that the population of the state of Michigan has gone down that time frame? That math doesn't add up, does it? Why didn't they come here? For us to be competitive, for jobs, and part of what we're going to be doing in the next 12 months is to be able to show the economic impact that transit has in terms of talent attraction, job creation. If we invest in it, they'll come. If we don't, it's not going to happen. Einstein has a definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different outcome. We can't continue to do this. I've lived in 9 cities. This city has more to offer than all the other cities that I have lived in. For me personally, because I got 4 real seasons, but that's a different conversation. But it has talent. It has an airport with an international reach. The only thing we have to do, and oh, by the way, the largest streets I have ever, in no city I ever lived in had streets like Michigan Avenue and Gratiot and Woodward Avenue that are streets that are primed for high capacity, fixed guideway transportation of some kind. The state of Michigan pays more in federal taxes than it gets back in federal grants. Us addressing the long-term funding of transit so that it is consistent puts us in a position to get tons of federal dollars for investment that we otherwise cannot get. We are in a position to transform. Everybody on this board and all the employees at SMART and its advocates are in a position to transform this region and this state, because as this region goes, so goes the state. Would that be a fair assessment? And the last thing I do want to say is we have to also be able to show that we have to diversify our economy. It can't be just manufacturing. The United States is no longer a manufacturing economy, it's a service economy. We've got to be able to get service jobs here. And no, I'm not talking about jobs that clean up. Accounting jobs are service jobs. All of those jobs at Amazon HQ2 were producing that paid all that money. Each one of those was considered a service job because they didn't make anything. We can do all of those things here, but we've got to invest here. And lastly, obliterate the 8 Mile line. People have already done it. We just haven't. 2/3 of DDOT's customers go to outside the county, outside of Wayne County to go to work every day. None of these counties into themselves have enough people so that they just relied on their citizens only to fill every job. It's not possible. So what I'm asking this board to do is help us be the catalyst for change. This is your hometown. I've had the good fortune in my lifetime to be part of a transformational transit system that changed my region. It's a pretty cool thing. And I'm asking you to help us help the region. So does anybody have any questions? Oh, and by the way, we have a wrap bus downstairs. I'd like for everybody to take a look at. It's today is the 69th anniversary of Rosa Parks not giving up her seat. And I went to there it is right there for some of you. I went to the Henry Ford Museum back in April and thought this would be a cool thing if we could wrap one. And Bernard and his team with a company called Turbo, who's actually a French company who had no idea who Rosa Parks was, did that wrap. So we spent this year making sure that we recognize all of the diversity in this region. So we had a good year. So next year is only going to be better.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Greatly appreciate the update. And I know also that next month too, we will be seating the Planning and Policy Committee too.
That is correct. One of the things that I'm hoping that the board, we want to start looking in long range of what service can look like. one of the departments that we established under this board was a planning and innovation committee. We awarded a contract with HNTB to be our first general planning consultant, along with the Michael Baker contract that we have that started looking at the smarter mobility. So now what we want to take a look at is this is what the future can look like, but at the same time, this is what the future costs.
Excellent. Ms. Frail, I think that will be a great opportunity for us to continue the conversations with our community providers, not only on the east side, but I also know that our friends over in Oakland are continually looking ways to refine the way that those dollars flow through for those community service options on that side. From an organizational standpoint, undoubtedly see the revived commitment, not only from members of the entire team, but their willingness to engage individuals all the way up and down the organization and throughout our communities.
So one of the unique things about this region is the number of community partners that we have.
Just a couple few.
Just a little bit. And it's over 300 vehicles. More money means we could pay for those folks to be able to provide flex service. And they can provide more service in those communities than they're able to afford to be able to provide right now. If we could provide, if we had a different source of funding and roll this out very, very quickly. So we're primed to do it. It's just, making sure that we can get it done.
Excellent.
I have two questions.
Please, Mr. Hedges.
When the millage end, the existing millage now, when's that end?
Well, let's see.
Got 3 years on it.
3 years on
the east side.
On that one, 8 years in
8 left in
Oakland, and we've got to go in 2026 for Wayne.
Yeah, year 2. So 2 in
2026.
Wayne, 3 in Macomb, and then 8 in Oakland.
Yeah, I know we talked in the past about changing the way we fund the system.
Yeah.
To have something permanent with room to growth.
Yes.
Because if we look and see the growth, not only in downtown Detroit, it's coming back. And then the suburbs start to feel some of the positive.
Oh, there's no question.
So I think before the end of any millage, we should have all the county agree on one financial system that doesn't require to go every 10 years for renewal, to run campaign and to run, that sometime it might fail. What happened to the organization if that fail? But if we have a permanent solution, then we focus on the growth. So
exactly,
I think that would be, I don't know if they require one member of each county to start to get together to do some study work to the future. I know some people think 8 years or 4 years is too far, but you'll be surprised how fast the time go.
Yeah.
But we need to prepare to see how we're gonna go on system where everybody agree to have a permanent finance with room to growth and enhancement of the system.
So one of the things that we are going to be doing after the first of the year is we want to be able to present the board with alternatives. Currently, the Constitution of Michigan does not allow for local option sales tax or local option elections, quite frankly. That has to change. The benefit is then each region can decide what they wish to do. Mr. Manico, you are familiar with your MSA includes part of Ohio. So the Toledo transit system had to get a state law passed that allowed the majority of the cities in that county to approve them to put something on the ballot for a sales tax because they were out of money. It was transformative. Cincinnati, when I was there, my task was to come up with a plan that would change the funding model permanently, which they did. And they're actually able to use some of their dollars, have chosen to use some of their dollars for infrastructure. So not only will they be able to expand their transit system, but they also were able to deal with some infrastructure issues that they had not been able to deal with. That particular region is two states primarily, Northern Kentucky and Southwest Ohio. The airport reinvented itself because it got dehubbed, but there are not enough people in Northern Kentucky for all those jobs.
Right.
I also want to make sure, because we're in an automobile industry in city, I've had the one directly and two indirectly. Nobody thinks about Toyota, which I think right now is the largest automobile manufacturer in the world. Their headquarters is in Plano, Texas. They don't have a plant in Plano. They consolidated their North American headquarters in Plano, which is a suburb of Dallas. When they did that, there were jobs that were in Northern Kentucky because they got a plant in Georgetown, Kentucky, that they moved from that area to Texas. They gave that transit system the first $1 million of seed money to do their microtransit system. That's a automobile manufacturer that did that. There's no logical explanation where a Japanese company would be sitting in the middle of the United States, except for talent, transit, and the airport. Porsche consolidated their North American headquarters in Atlanta. Not by a train station, but they have an airport. Everybody who's trained on a Porsche car has to go to Atlanta every year, and they spend money on sales tax that helps fund stuff. Mercedes-Benz of North America, headquartered in Atlanta, exact same thing. They don't have any plants in either one of those places.
I wanna.
But that's the competition that we need to be going for.
I wanna stick to what I see as a permanent solution is you mentioned you're gonna come up with a proposal to the board. I would rather, before you come up with a proposal, have member of each county, one committee, to work with you.
Sounds like a plan to me.
And when the proposal come to the table, it's already been cleaned out from the political differences in each county.
We can do that through this committee that's been established.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main things, not only as we heard from our community providers, but to provide a forum for this board to not only explore an enterprise, I guess for lack of a better phrase here, preferences that we have from our community providers, because there was always this translation was saying, well, I need a bus to provide XYZ service, but we would always need to reconcile with ABC Reg. Now we'll be able to take those ideas, bring them to this committee and find where they best fit into the service model that we're building, whether it comes out of the Smarter Mobility Plan or even out of the traditional fixed route, paratransit, and micromobility, because I try to listen.
Yeah, the issue, it have a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
It need the political support.
Absolutely.
And we can't afford to have any differences with disagreement and go to the public with it. So that's why I felt a committee like that would be and work with you and then inform the leadership in each county. And when we decide to make sure we have the final solution, then we have no worry about who's for it or who's against it.
Yeah.
Because with this committee came from all the counties and did something right. I'm in support, a great support to have a permanent solution, to have a permanent success.
Absolutely.
So I hope this board would take this one very seriously and move forward with all the counties board.
Thank you, Mr. Hedis. Ms. Cote?
I think it makes sense to do some strategic planning, including all of the counties in preparation and look at, developing a work group where all the counties are present and you can develop a strategic plan with some of the ideas that, Dwight talked about in terms of funding sources and development of services or enhancement of services. So I would agree with you. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Sheila, I think that's also going to dovetail beautifully, not only with the smarter mobility strategy, but with some of those aspirations that we're hearing from the locals that are like saying, okay, I'm trying to, in tandem, understand how I can enterprise the investments we're making in paratransit, but also trying to understand how do I take that purple blob and expand it into my community
Mhm.
to help with the emerging need on that
Exactly.
side. So I think
Exactly.
they're on both sides. Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other?
Chair.
Yes.
We're looking to establish a policy committee, a planning committee. Is a strategic planning committee, additional committee?
No, that would all be wrapped up in the planning and policy committee.
Thank you for
Yep.
clarification.
Appreciate that.
Because one of the things that we do want to do next year is develop the organization's strategic plan. And so all of that wrapped up into the single committee makes perfect sense to me.
Never good when I'm trying to take notes by hand and then also on my phone to make things even more confusing. So any other comments for the general manager for members of the board? Seeing none, we will move on to our hiring update. The sleep part, how are we doing today? Doing good today. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for the update, Dwight. Appreciate it. Flo. And Dwight, if you wouldn't mind the presentation that was provided on the screen, if we can send that to the board members, I'd
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I am Tiana Lepar, presenting the hiring update today on December the 5th. If I can get. Thank you. For new operators from the month of October 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024, we hire a total of 23 fixed route operators and 10 paratransit operators, which bring our total to 33 operators hiring. For fixed route, we have a total of 426 budgeted positions. This brings our total to 398 operators filled, and we have vacant positions, 28. We have 28 vacant positions for fixed route.
How many people do you have in training?
So this coming Monday, December the 9th, we have a total of 31 operators that will be starting potentially.
Excellent. Any questions?
Thank
Did
you.
we lose it? Nope. we're
Well, I
good.
still have to,
Yep, sorry. We went blank on the screen. All right, we're back.
can we go one more screen to paratransit? For our paratransit division, is it showing on your end?
No, I
No.
don't think we've got it on our end. But if you got the number, you could just tell us.
right
Oh, it's right behind. I'm going this way, everyone's going this
Okay.
way,
Right there.
so I think we're
Okay.
good.
There you are.
For paratransit, we have a total of 142 budgeted positions. We have a total of 131 filled. That leaves us with a total of 11 vacant positions. And on Monday, we have 5 starting, so that would bring us down to 6
That's awesome.
positions. I am available for any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for the update.
Thank
Any
you.
questions on the HR hiring update? Seeing none, I take a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, on to unfinished business. We are going to 12A, a resolution for approval of the revised Smart Agency Safety Plan. This was an item that we were discussing last month at our meeting with regards to signatory responsibilities.
I signed it.
And Dwight signed it for us. So, Daryl, anything on that end that you would like to highlight today, please, sir?
My name's Daryl Taylor. I'm the risk manager. And I'm here to seek approval for the revised Smart Agency Safety Plan. The Federal Transit Administration requires that the transit agencies annually update their agency safety plan by December 31st of each year. The agency safety plan was developed in collaboration with the SMART's Safety Management System Committee, which is comprised of an equal representation of frontline employees and management, and it aims to achieve the following objectives: to minimize exposure to infectious diseases, reduce collisions and injuries, reduce visibility impairments for bus operators that contribute to vehicle and pedestrian accidents, and to mitigate assaults on transit workers by optimizing bus operator barrier technology. The revised Smart Agency Safety Plan has been updated to increase accountabilities, targets, and structures designed to ensure the safety of SMART systems, employees, and the public. The proposed plan has undergone a thorough review and received approval from the Smart Safety Management System Committee. And we're seeking an award for this updated agency safety plan.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for the update. Again, Mr. Farrell will be signing it as the agent of record on that and
Already done.
already done, which is always good. So with that being said, we would seek resolution for approval of the revised Smart Agency Plan to transmit accordingly.
So moved.
Been moved, supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like I did get the first thing that I needed to pass when I was chair back on the agenda. Excellent. Thanks, Mr. Taylor. Appreciate it on that end. We're gonna move on to new business 13A, a resolution for the authorization of a contract amendment number 1 for the extension of employee benefit consultant services.
Hello again,
Howdy.
Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Tiana Leeper, and I am seeking authorization of contract amendment number 1 for the extension of employee benefit consulting services with AB Global Insurance, doing business as Manquin Vance. This would extend the contract from February 1st, 2025 through January 30th, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $110,000. The board originally approved the contract January 23rd, 2020, with Manquin Vance. What they do is employee consultant. They are responsible for consulting with us in the selection, evaluation, design, delivery, funding of employee benefits, and ensuring that SMART is obtaining the best pricing and the most cost-effective plan and design. In alignment with our commitment to attract and retain top talent, SMART is working to transition the employee benefits to be more inclusive and supportive of our diverse employee needs. To support us in this process, staff requires the continual services of Manquin Vance, especially considering the recent changes in our current benefits and total compensation analysis to be performed by the talent management consultant contractor. It is anticipated that the comprehensive total management assessment will impact the benefits provided by SMART, and the historical knowledge of Manquin Vance will be invaluable with the assessment of our employees and retirement benefit services.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Leapard. Very much appreciate the overview today. Board, what is your pleasure? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Been moved?
I'll support it.
Been supported? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on to item 10, excuse me, if I could count, 13B, the ratification for payment of services rendered for concrete repair services during options year 2. Mr. Burt, how are we doing?
Well, finding yourselves. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, SMART's board members. On behalf of SMART's Maintenance Department, it's the recommendation that the board adopts the attached resolution for ratification of payment for concrete repair services rendered during option year 2. In 2019, SMART awarded a 3-year contract with 2 one-year options to Hartwell Cement Company for concrete repair services for $45,000 per year, an amount which is under board approval threshold. Option year 2 was effective May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024, and the repairs exceeded the purchase order amount by $16,358. The increased amount is above the board approved threshold. Approval is being asked today.
Thank you for the details, Mr. Burt.
Move for approval.
Moved approval. Been supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We got concrete. Next, 13C, resolution authorization to award a contract for paratransit and support vehicle tires. Mr. Burt.
Yes, it's the recommendation that the board adopts the attached resolution authorizing the award of a contract for paratransit and support vehicle tires to JAM Administrations located in Toledo, Ohio. This is a 3-year contract beginning February 1st, 2025 through January 31st, 2028, at an amount not to exceed $650,000 for 3 years. Any questions?
Is through the chair,
Pettis?
is that for the amount total, but not for fixed price on the product?
Could you repeat?
The price on the product, it's not fixed, but the amount of the contract. It seems the price would fluctuate up and down, depend on the market, the tires.
The price is based upon the actual federal pricing that's scheduled for the federal contract.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Burt.
Yeah.
Board, what's the pleasure?
So move.
Been moved? Supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. The chair would entertain a motion to move into closed session to discuss the VL settlement, please.
So moved.
Been moved? Been supported? Roll call vote, please, Ms. Martin.
Chairman John Colbert.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Brett again.
Yes.
Ms. Sheila Cote.
Yes.
Mr. Abdul Hattis.
Yes.
Mr. Royce Manica.
Yes.
Ms. Diane McBroom.
Excellent. We are adjourned to head into closed session. Friends, if you give us a few minutes. Alrighty, friends, we're coming back for the fun, going back into open session at 3:22 PM. Any considerations from the board?
Chair, I move that we proceed as discussed in closed session.
As recommended by council. I
Yes.
will entertain that motion. Can I get a second, please?
Support.
Been supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Appreciate that. Any other board member business to discuss today? Mr. Manica.
Mr. Chairman, you, Smart Board had appointed me to the new MPO Policy Board, the Metropolitan Planning Organization down in Toledo. And at our meeting yesterday, they provided a transportation legislative agenda. And I usually follow those both from TMCOG and SIMCOG as they touch on what they're going to lobby for in both at the state and federal level for 2025. They do have public transportation on page 11. And I just wanted to point that out to you. They have a number of priorities, both at the federal and state level and regional priorities. And so as Dwight pointed out, there are some major changes relative to the fuel alternatives we're all looking at in terms of electric and diesel. And one of the things that we discussed this morning at Lake Erie Transit was the automotive industry, like Ford Motor Company, particularly on propane, are changing the body of their buses that they produce. And so there's a lot of discussion going on. What's happening with propane? Are we moving in that direction? Are we moving in another direction? And I think I'm very interested in how our alternative fuel study is going to come out.
What I can tell you is that we're looking to see. It looks, this is just my take. We've looked at some of the systems in Ohio who have gone to hydrogen. Because hydrogen gives you a range that you don't get with electricity. And it's, you still got the environmental, the positive impacts of the environment and what have you. We've got propane vehicles now that have caused us some challenges because they're converted propane. So
Great
they're
for barbecue, not for bus components.
not an ideal setup. So
That was an
we-
editorial comment, not an educated one. Sorry.
Once we get once we get more detail from our consultant, we'll bring that to the board. Because whatever the recommendation is going to be, it's going to require some capital investment, in terms of facilities or what have you. And it's really going to be more of a long-term thing. Last couple of conferences I've been to, there hadn't been a diesel bus in a place. So unless this particular administration comes in and moves us away from the trend that we've been going and back to diesel, then that's where it's going to be some mixture of battery electric and hydrogen.
Excellent. Mr. Manico, thanks for the resource and
Yeah,
appreciate the
just
continued
one
advocacy.
other item on the agenda was under Title VI, I think every transit agency or anybody that receives transportation dollars, they have to do a Title VI under the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
And that was
All the
another
time.
major study that they had provided to this new board, particularly on environmental justice and other items. And so one of the things that was interest to me, and I don't know if we have to do it here at SMART, but in the Toledo TMCOG area, they had to have translations for Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic. And I wasn't sure how that impacted us.
I don't know what our requirements are, but I know we do I know we do translations in Spanish and Arabic. That just those two. Those are the ones that we're required to do, and those are the ones that we do. And in fact, one of the things we did with the Arab American News, we actually are getting them to do the translations for us because we had been using a Google method, and that's just not necessarily the best way to go about doing it. Let's just say that. So, so that's what we're in that path.
But anyway, it was an interesting meeting and they also had the safety performance targets for both Ohio, Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, which they had to adopt at the meeting. And we had last month that SEMCOG adopted our Michigan targets.
Nice.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Manico. Appreciate the continued updates from our friends in TMCOG. Any other comments from members of the board? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
We'll move.
Been moved? Been supported? Any other conversations? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.